Hey everybody, welcome back to Why Not RV. On this week's episode, I'm going to go and show you how to set up for a Class C at a campsite. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to learn more and make less mistakes while RVing. Check us out online at whynotrvusa.com. We're also now on Patreon at patreon.com/whynotrv. And we have an amazing Facebook group that is growing very, very quickly. So come join us on Facebook. It's just Why Not RV under Facebook groups. But I'm going to put a link in the description below for all those websites. So when you're setting up for the weekend at your campsite, you got to do three main things: electric, sewer, and water. So let's start with the electric. Okay, so when you first pull into your campsite, I forgot, before electric, before water, before sewer, first thing you got to do is, number one, be able to open up your slide. So you got to make sure that your utilities are far enough away from the slide that the slide can open up, and on the other side too, make sure that wherever you're parking at, your slides can open up properly. So now that we're already parked, we're going to go and show you guys how to open up the slide. Even though it's already open, I'm going to show you the process. Also, before we even open up our slides, we got to make sure that we are at least pretty decently level, because with a Class C, they don't have leveling systems. So whether that includes using the little leveling blocks, or pulling into the campsite, I know it has to be as level as you possibly can. Make sure you do that first. Sometimes these leveling blocks, you put them underneath the front right tire, the back left tire, whatever it takes to be able to level the system out, or to be able to level the rig out for your particular campsite. Once you do that, you need to chalk your wheels with these little yellow chalks and make sure that the RV is not going to go anywhere. Now we can open up our slide, because you really don't want to be putting a lot of strain on these slide systems when they're not level. And additionally, the RV fridge, in order to operate properly, needs to be as pretty level as possible. Okay, so we've pulled into the campsite. We are level. We have our chocks on the wheels, so we're good to go. Let's go ahead and get this slide open. So right here on the slide button, we're going to push it to out. But first, we're going to make sure that where the slide comes out on both sides, it's nice and clear. So we just come back over here to the slide and look and make sure nothing has fallen back down there in transit. Nothing's down there. Nothing's down here. Now we know our slide is clear. Let's go ahead and get this thing open. So we're going to get on the slide button and just press and hold the button out and watch the slide as it goes out. Make sure that everything looks good. It's going out evenly on both sides. If one side starts to go out unevenly from the other, immediately stop, because you will cause some damage. Just watch it. And that's it. You kind of let it go until you can kind of hear the motors be done on the end of the track. Now every single RV is a little bit different. Some have hydraulic slides, some have electric Schwintek systems like this, or even the cable driven motors, which are also electric. So just depending on your slide, they're all usually run off some kind of button. But you might want to know what type of slide you have, just to know when things go wrong, how to fix them. All right, I'm going to show you guys how to light the oven on this particular RV. A lot of ovens, they show the spark, and that is just for the top. That's just for, lighting your regular top. The spark does not go down into the actual oven itself, the pilot down there. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your pilot. First, we're going to open this up. We're going to get our lighter ready. I like to go ahead and get the lighter clicked on and put in the oven right near where the pilot is at in the back, and I'll show you what that looks like. But we just take our button, push it over to pilot, and you push and hold. Light the pilot, hold it for about 10 to 15 seconds. Let go, and our pilot is lit. So now you can go ahead and crank it up to whatever temperature you want. And while you're camping for the weekend, you can just click it right back over to pilot. You don't need to turn it all the way off until you're kind of done cooking. Then you can go and click it off, and the pilot's off. Okay, so on this RV, we have our electric port right here. So we're gonna open this up, and a 30 amp plug is in here, and it's plugged into this little, let's see if we can see it, right over there. This is what comes off the generator. So first thing we're gonna do is get this unplugged. Pull it out, and we're gonna go ahead and get this plugged in. All right, so the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna come to your electric pedestal over here, and you're gonna go ahead and make sure that all of your breakers are turned off. Once you know that they're all off, we're gonna take our 30 amp plug it into the 30 amp outlet right there. We're gonna turn our 30 amp to on. That's gonna give power to the rig. Okay, so you're gonna need to get a couple things. First thing is your sewer connection that goes into the ground. So let me show you how to hook this up. So at this campground, we're gonna go ahead and get this plugged in this way and just twist it in. All right, now because the angle is off, we're gonna go ahead and disconnect the top, just a little quarter turn, and put it the right direction. So now we're ready to hook up our sewer hose. All right, so at the RV, we're gonna go ahead and take our sewer cap off. Set it to the side. And before you do that, you do want to make sure your handles are closed. Of course, I already noticed that they were closed. But now we're going to take our clear elbow and we're going to put this on here. And now we're ready to get our actual hose connected from this piece down to the other side. We're going to take our sewer connection and it just clicks right on. It's just a little tiny turn. Let's get this all stretched out. All right, so now we're going to take this end and get this plugged in. Make sure that it locks in place, and now we're good to go ahead and be able to dump the tanks. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys now how to hook up your water. So we're going to take our hose and we're going to get it hooked up on the other end of, or at the campsite first before we hook up to the RV. I'm going to show you why we do that. All right, this isn't necessarily a prerequisite, but I like to have a little Y valve on here. That way, if I'm using my regular hose for the drinking water and everything like that, I still have an extra spigot outside. So we're gonna go ahead and get this connected. Now we're gonna hook up our drinking water filter, which also has a pressure regulator on it right now. And now hook up our hose. So now we're all hooked up right here. I have the hose ran out and it's not connected to the RV like I showed you just a minute ago. It's just on the ground, and we're gonna go ahead and put water through it to flush out any kind of nasty stuff that might already be in that hose from it sitting. So we just let it run for 30 seconds or so, and then we're gonna go ahead and shut it back off. Now we can go ahead and hook up to the RV. It's nice to have a 90-degree elbow, because if you have this hooked right here, you have a lot of pressure that pulls down on the port, whereas if you have the 90-degree in there, the pressure comes straight from below. So that's why you wanna have a 90-degree elbow. Now we have our water hooked up. We want to make sure we're in the right mode. So in this particular RV, we have either city or we have tank fill / winterize, right? So if we wanted to take this thing out camping and not have full hookups, we're going to put it to the tank fill, turn the water on so we can fill up the freshwater tank. Right now, we're at a campground with full hookups, so we have it on city because we're using city water. So let's go ahead and turn the water on and get this thing pressurized up. So now we have our water on. We can go ahead and move our little door, close this up, and now we're good. We have our electric hooked up, we have our water hooked up, and we have our sewer hooked up, so you're good for camping for the weekend. After you're all set up and you want to have your water heater on, you just come in here and click this to on. That's all you need to do. If you are not at a campground and you are on just your tank water, you've filled up your freshwater tank, this water pump, you have to turn that to on in order to be having water obviously come out of any faucet, the toilet, the sink, the shower, anything like that. So make sure you turn your water pump on if you're not hooked up to city water and you have water in your fresh tank. If you're at a campground with city water, leave this off, turn your water heater on, voila, you're good to go. Now I'm going to show you guys how to disconnect from the campsite and pack up and get ready to go home. All right, so now when you're actually ready to dump your tanks, you have a black handle and a gray handle. The black handle is for black water, which is down the toilet, that's the nasty stuff. The gray handle is for the gray water, which is your shower and sink. So it's not that nasty, but still don't really want to be messing with it too much. So the first thing you do is you dump your black tank. Pull the black tank. And this is why you wear gloves. All right, so once your black tank is empty, which this right now is still draining a little bit, but it's pretty much just clear water at this point. So we're gonna go ahead and shut our black tank valve. Make sure it's all the way shut. Then we're gonna pull our gray tank valve. The reason we do this is because we wanna make sure that the hose line is flushed out of all the nasty stuff with at least that gray water, which is a little bit cleaner. So that's why you always do black first, then your gray. All right, now our gray tank is empty. We're gonna go ahead and shut the valve. And I'm also gonna show you guys how to do the black tank flush to make sure your black tank's nice and clean. All right, so on this particular RV, we have right here, the tank flush is this one over here. So we're gonna hook our hose up to it. And of course, we're gonna hook it up to the spigot out there. And before you turn the spigot on, you want your black tank to be open, because otherwise you're gonna fill it up. And if you don't open it in time, you're gonna have a big mess on your hands on the inside. So we're gonna go ahead and open up our black tank, turn on the spigot, and let this thing start flushing. So you can see our black tank now is flushing out. And you know, depending on your RV and what you're doing, you can close the valve off, let it fill up maybe halfway or so, and then reopen it. But you gotta be extra careful and not fill it up too much or overfill it inside, because you'll have a nasty mess on your hands. So in this case, for this RV, we're not gonna do that today, but that's how you flush your black tank. So I went ahead and flushed the black tank, and now we're gonna go ahead and close the valve. I already turned the water off, and you can see there's no more water coming through. So let's go ahead and close our black tank. And now we can disconnect our hose here. And that's how you flush your black tank. Now that our black water and our gray water is empty and flushed out, we're gonna go ahead and get our sewer line disconnected. So first thing we're gonna do is kind of run out the hose to make sure we have no water remaining inside the hose. So what we'll do is we're gonna go ahead and disconnect it right here at this elbow, and make sure to keep this up, because right now there's water in this hose. And we're just gonna walk it out just like you walk out any normal hose, nice and slow. Now our hose is empty. Let's go ahead and get disconnected down here. And let's put some things away. All right, so we're gonna get our cap put back in here to prevent any kind of nasty stuff from going. And as you feed this into your bumper, or wherever you keep it stored, you know, everyone's a little different, but as you feed it in here, make sure you collapse it before you push it in. Get our cap on the other side here. And put it in just enough to be able to put the cap back on. Okay, we're going to also take our 90-degree off the RV itself and put our cap back on. Once your cap's back on, you can go and put these away in whatever bins or baskets you like to put those in. And now let's go ahead and disconnect our water. So we're gonna go ahead and disconnect our water, and just by simply turning it off, and start your disconnect of your hoses. I personally like to disconnect down here, not at the RV, because the hose is still pressurized, and I like to just get the pressure out of the hose. Now we can put all this stuff away, and let's go ahead and disconnect our hose at the RV. All right, so let's get our water disconnected here. We can go ahead and get that coiled and put away, and our 90. So now we have our sewer and our water disconnected. Let's get our electric disconnected and plug back into the camper. So just like when you hooked it up, but in reverse order, we're gonna first disconnect or turn off our breaker so that there's no power going to it. Pull our plug out, and we're gonna get this wrapped back inside. I'm gonna show you that process. So we're gonna go and open up our thing here, and in this particular RV, we're gonna coil it up inside here as best we can. All right, now we got this all coiled, we're gonna go ahead and get our plug plugged into our generator outlet that's in here. If you're ever wondering why your generator's not working, come out here and make sure that you're plugged in. That's it for this week's video. That was just as simple and as basic as I could make it for a quick, simple setup for a Class C. If you have questions, pop them in the comments down below, and I'll be sure to get to you as soon as possible. Make sure to check us out online. Come join our Facebook group. Thanks for watching Why Not RV. We'll see you next time. Bye.